Hello, welcome to our quiz app. Today I'll show you a brief demo and walk you through the logic of our quiz app. First, when you open the app, you're able to register. If you don't enter a name and hit submit, the app will pop out a message saying enter your name first. And let's register and get started. As we do not implement any multiplier feature in this app in the end, the app is intended for only one user to play with on his phone. As you can see, once we registered with the app, the user's name will be displayed on the main menu page following the text, "Welcome to UCL Quiz." After registering, you'll enter the main menu of the app where you can choose from the options of Start Quiz, View Questions, and View Scores. Start Quiz will allow you to start the quiz in sequential order as we wrote it, and in View Questions you can have a peek of all the questions and then choose to answer from which one you want to answer. And the View Question screen serves as our practice function, as the score of answering a practice question will not be stored anywhere. Answering a question from the View Question screen will simply take the user to the relevant question from the quiz list, and then return the user back to View Question screen. In View Scores, the user will be able to see the scores of all the quizzes he or she successfully completed after hitting the Start Quiz button, which will start to record data after the first time you finish the 5 quizzes. And since we haven't started any quiz yet, it is blank in View Score. But we'll come back to this. Okay, let's start with Start Quiz. You will immediately go into the first question. As you can see in the layout, there are 3 buttons: Cheat, Submit, and Skip. Let's cheat this one. Our app will initiate a pop-up that gives you the correct answer. Our score counter is set in a way that only correct answer which are submitted can raise the score counter. Therefore, you will not get any points for a question on which you cheated or skipped. For the next question, let's try the skip option. You can see that the skip option navigates you to the next question if such a question exists. This logic is simple and defined in the Start Quiz activity, which we'll see in the code demonstration. For this question, let's choose an answer and submit. The app will pop up immediately the result, which is correct. Now let's talk a little bit about the logic of how this works. The 3 radio buttons allow us to display the 3 answers to each question. The nice thing about the radio button is that they're defined so that only one answer can be selected at a time, meaning that the user cannot select more than one answer to the same question. The quiz score is initialized at 0, and then you start the quiz at question 0. Choosing an answer and pressing submit will change the answer default value of -1 to either 0, 1, or 2, depending on if answer A, B, C were chosen respectively. As you can see in the Start Quiz activity, we will check if the answer picked by the user is equal to the correct answer of the question. If it is, the score is incremented by 1, and if it isn't, a pop-up of the correct answer is displayed. In both cases, the user is then navigated onto the next question. On the case in which the user hits submit without selecting an answer first, we will pop up a message asking the user to select an answer first, as we did in the registration. The way in which we manage the length of our quiz is by using a counter every time a question is navigated to, which happens when the user hits skip, cheat, or submit. When the user is navigated onto a new question, the question counter is incremented by 1, and the app checks whether the question counter is longer than the quiz list.size. If it is, then the quiz is over and the user sees his score. The benefit of this implementation is that we could easily add and remove questions from our quiz. Now that we have finished the quiz, we will immediately see our score for this round, and we will be directed back to the main menu where we can start again, choosing from the option of Start Quiz, View Question, and View Scores. In terms of the demonstration, the emulator we're using right now is Nexus 6P, and we checked the app functions using Chrome extension ARC Welder, and they all worked out. And now I will briefly walk you through the logic of our code and how we implemented our logic. Under the activity package, we have 7 activities. Each activity will be the equivalence of one function and screen view. In the register activity, we can see that through the onClick method, after clicking the button that we define as btn submit, and after several Boolean statements, and to validate the input, we will be able to use the set method to set up the username data and make sure that one user will only have to do it once. Once you have registered, you'll never have to do it again, unless you uninstall the app, which will delete both your name and the score. All the app data is stored locally, therefore deleting the app will delete our data as well. Our basic app doesn't require internet connectivity, which is great. The splash screen, which is the screen when the app is opened once the user clicks the app icon in his phone, will either be the register screen or the main menu screen, and this depends on whether you have registered or not, and is determined by the splash activity class. In this class, we use an else-if statement to see whether or not a value has been entered in the registration using a Boolean, and we navigate the user to the correct page after this. In main activity, we also set all the buttons that will be clicked, and then, for example, btn start quiz will navigate you from the main activity to start quiz activity. In initial controls, we initialized the 5 quiz objects of the quiz class, each of which will have the 3 attributes of the quiz object defined under model quiz, which we'll talk about later. In the start quiz activity, we utilize the ability of a subclass to override so that we can inherit the base activities in start quiz to implement on other activities later. In the view question activity, we'll have all the question and show it on the quiz list screen. Once you select a question and click it, you'll be navigated back to start quiz activity, and the quiz question you choose and its object will be passed to start quiz activity respectively. Our adapter package includes 2 classes that contains methods for running the app. The question adapter is a class that encapsulates the basic operations on the question, for example, getting the exact questions and getting the count of the questions. It serves the view question activity because the methods we use in the question adapter can be used directly by the view question activity. For example, the get count, get item, and get item ID methods. The score adapter, on the other hand, contains methods to calculate the scores and serves the view score activity. If we briefly go back to the view score activity, in the line app preference.getScreen, which is here, this will allow us to access the app preference database and retrieve data, aka the score, from the app preference which we stored earlier in start quiz activity app preference setString in start quiz activity. Our model pack activity. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching this demonstration.